AI crypto projects have always been the first to see significant upside after short-term bearish action. And with the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index hitting extreme fear for the first time since the FTX collapse, if you've ever listened to Warren Buffett, who says that you should buy fear and sell into greed, well, you'll know that the markets are about to turn around towards the upside. Especially with global stock markets surging higher and higher all the time, the macro outlook is extremely bullish. In this video, I'm going to look at 3 AI altcoins that I'm extremely bullish on right now and identify key areas that I'm going to be buying them at. I'm also going to talk about the macro environment and why NVIDIA surging towards all-time highs has a huge impact on what's going to happen in the AI cryptos. So do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's get into today's video. Now, for those of you who are new to crypto, and new to kind of trading in general, there's something that you need to be aware of. You represent the masses who are required to conform and do the opposite of what the big money wants you to do, so that the big money who ultimately drives the markets can continue to make more money. They create situations where you get extremely fearful and panicked, so that you sell your crypto for super cheap, so that the big money can load up on that and then reverse towards the upside. This Fear and Greed Index collapsing down to 25 is extremely bullish for crypto. Don't let your monkey mind fool you any other way. This pattern I've been showing you for days is still in the process of playing out. And yes, it's the Bitcoin chart, but when Bitcoin moves, so do the altcoins. And when Bitcoin gets a significant leg up, which I think will happen shortly, then the altcoins will see a massive bounce as well. So we're currently battling in and around this spring area, a push higher, a bounce down to test, and then further up, pushing back towards all-time highs somewhere into October, November time. But many are still there like, oh yeah, but the bull market's over, we're going to see more downside. Guys, this is a macro bull market. Jason Pizzino, great YouTube channel, go and check him out, talks about the real estate cycle and how it's linked directly to the stock markets, crypto, and pretty much everything else. It's a trend that's been going on for the last 200 years, and we're currently in the second half into the winner's curse phase of this market. Well, if you were in the last bull market and you made a lot of money in crypto, by the time the bull market kind of got towards its top, you probably took your profits and you ran across to NFTs to try and make even more money because the greed took over. We were all the same, we all did it, and this is what we're about to see from the stock market. People have been making massive gains in stocks, will run across to crypto, they'll pump their money into crypto, and then we're going to see this crazy phase happening. And just look at it, guys. This is the US S&P 500, top 500 companies in the US. It's absolutely surging and is continuing to surge day after day. All this in a period of time where interest rates are sky high and inflation is coming down in the year of an election. It couldn't be more bullish in terms of what's going on. You've seen Tesla and various other stocks surging towards the upside, but one is more significant to us than any other right now, and it's NVIDIA. But one is more bullish to us than any other, and it's why we're focusing on AI altcoins to be able to buy this dip. Forget those people who are like, oh, utility coins are dead, I'm just going to buy meme coins. Because ultimately, they're focusing towards the greed area of the market rather than the fear end of the market. If you push your attention towards the coins where people are getting greedy, then you'll get burned. You need to push your attention towards the stuff where people think it's over, the fear, okay? NVIDIA has moved into one of the world's biggest companies over the last couple of years. Look at this on a monthly basis. This has been an absolute crazy uptrend, and it's because it's the biggest AI company. So many enormous companies around the world right now are focusing attention to developing AI. Amazon is replacing its workforce with, guess what? AI. Tesla has used AI to create cars that drive themselves. Google and many other massive tech companies have invested huge amounts of money in, guess what? AI development. And what basically drives all of this? Well, the chips behind everything come from this company, NVIDIA. So you'll notice if you come across trends.google.com that you search for AI crypto over the past 5 years, that every time that this bull market that pretty much started from the end of the FTX collapse, it might not have felt like that, but Bitcoin basically moved from a downtrend into an uptrend. We've seen AI cryptos surge in interest every time that Bitcoin looks bullish. We saw a surge back here, February the 12th and 18th, 2023. Huge amounts of excitement and interest flood into AI crypto. Bitcoin then kind of goes sideways, doesn't do much for a while, eventually starts to rally again. Guess what? AI crypto, it then becomes the forefront of attention. In the same way, in the stock market, NVIDIA is the forefront of attention right now, which means that when Bitcoin suddenly shows signs of recovering and utility cryptos show signs of recovering, guess where the attention is going to flow? It's going to flow back into AI cryptos. So there's a few ways in which we can make this easy for ourselves, because obviously there's a lot of AI projects. We can simply go to coinmarketcap.com, go for AI, And then you can see a bunch of different projects here. Now, one I think that is very important to pay attention to, but isn't going to make up one of the 3 that I'm going to talk about in this video, is artificial superintelligence. Basically 3 projects, Fetch AI, Singularity Net, and Ocean Protocol, have grouped together to create this super intelligence alliance project, and I think this is going to be a very interesting one to watch over the coming years. But actually, I've decided to choose 3 projects that are actually more closely linked to NVIDIA than others. Why? Because when NVIDIA goes pumping, which it continues to do over and over again, we want to dive towards the cryptos that are basically taking a bit of that NVIDIA magic with them. And I know lots of you are like, well, yeah, but it looks like it's about to blow off top. I would agree with you. NVIDIA does look like it's probably ready for a cooldown. But if we jump back to the housing cycle chart, we'll see that the winner's curse basically will start to dry up and run out into 2025, 2026, which means we are in the kind of crazy phase of the market where people get braver and braver and kind of make more and more stupid, more and more greedy bets, which means that we have that kind of crazy blow off top. And I still think that this is happening at least until the end of this year. And then you're like, oh, well, Bitcoin's not even going to make a recovery right now. Germany's selling all their crypto, which, to be honest, yes, is a bit random. I don't know what Germany is suddenly, selling Bitcoin for. Never even knew Germany had Bitcoin, but they've basically been suppressing this recovery pump, and now they're down to about $200 million worth of Bitcoin left, which actually, in the grand scheme of things, is sweet FA. Okay, so don't panic too much about Germany and their Bitcoin. So obviously I've selected projects that have links to NVIDIA and also have more promising charts. And why right now is such an exciting time to look into AI cryptos is because they have charts looking like this. This is a cash on the monthly, had a very good, exciting kind of boom phase, has pulled back, and now many people have panic sold it. We got Render, basically a project everyone was talking about, dumped hard towards the downside. You've got Nasana, has basically done the same thing, but these aren't the ones I want to focus on. Instead, first of all, I want to look at AiOZ. Now, why is this? Well, because AiOZ was actually the first crypto project to be invited to speak at the NVIDIA conference earlier on this year, and that partnership with NVIDIA is a strong one. Not only that, but AiOZ kind of covers a couple of different narratives. Not only is it AI, but it also falls into deep-in. And the other projects I talk about today will also fall into that kind of like deep-in narrative. Now, AiOZ is not only AI, but also looks into things like storage and streaming. But it's this that has me more excited about AiOZ, perhaps, than some other AI cryptos. And AiOZ around that point was what many newbies, or like bitter crypto bros, would call a dead project. Suddenly, around November, it basically woke up and it pumped like 70x. Then we see a very healthy, strong pullback somewhere around 61%. It's this particular excitement and attention is what we're talking about in this video. Whenever the excitement returns to the market, it focuses towards certain projects. And these are the projects that I'm most bullish on because they're recognized by the mass market as being closely connected with NVIDIA and the narrative of AI, and it gets people pumped up and excited. Okay, that's what we're betting on. Now, basically, what AiOZ is going to facilitate, I see, as being a transition from Web 2 into the Web 3 environment, because there's a bunch of different things that are required for that to happen, such as decentralizing streaming, as in moving away from platforms like YouTube into decentralized networks, as well as decentralized storage, and of course, AI compute. Now, one of the biggest challenges with AI isn't necessarily the development of AI, but it's the costs involved with the development of AI, and it's all down to the fact that there isn't enough bandwidth to be able to drive the development of AI, which is making traditional services or Web 2 AI services extremely expensive. I've seen the likes of Alex Becker and others tweeting about problems they're having in developing their AI projects, saying that they can't overcome this bottleneck that's caused by a lack of compute power, and through the use of running nodes, which you can run on your computer if you so wish, but personally I don't think it's really worth the effort, because personally I don't think you make almost anything in return. You make very, very little. However, I'm not going to stop you. Fill your boots if you want to go and run an AiOZ node and make yourself like 3 cents a week. A global community of AiOZ nodes support the AiOZ or AiOZ DCDN with thousands of individual utility spare computing resources to power Web3 AI storage and media delivery. Ultimately, it's basically decentralizing those whole systems, which are all required for a shift from Web 2 to Web 3. And it's basically shifting towards the future of decentralized applications that require AI, etc. to be built without scalability issues. And that's where AiOZ is coming in. But ultimately, what looks more exciting to me than anything about this is the chart. Now, the chart is currently at $440 million, which many of you will be like, yeah, that's really high. But ultimately, we're looking at this as being the whole ecosystem that is kind of growing faster within a Web3 world than perhaps it does in a Web2 world, in that we're looking at AI. So I think this is a very much a natural fit. And also, because AI is expensive and it requires a lot of expensive tech, these projects do have slightly larger market caps than others. And to be honest, from where I'm sitting, I would anticipate this being moving into the multi-billion dollars worth of market cap. We've already seen other big AI companies in crypto do that. So I do think that, yeah, a 10x to maybe a 20x is possible for AiOZ. Of course, go and do your own research. That is literally just speculative. I have no idea whether or not that can happen. I'm just anticipating what I think is going to happen once kind of massive money floods into the market. Now, from a kind of a chart perspective, you can see that this is looking a little bit kind of ominous. And maybe you could see maybe similarities in what we've seen in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin does break down below these levels and sees something like this happen, this could be a little bit scary. Maybe we see further cool off. But this area you can see for AiOZ does seem to be an area that we're getting bought up at. However, you would say that there's probably not major kind of buy zone areas until we get down towards these zones. Will we get down towards these zones? Well, it does look in the short term like it's starting to sell off a little bit. But I would be personally happy if I could load up more AiOZ down here. I say more because I've already bought a lot of AiOZ and will continue to try and accumulate if we get down in towards this zone. But perhaps I do think that there is probably further cooling off to happen just in the very short term. Now, next up, as we rattle through, one that probably doesn't surprise you to be on my list, and it is Aether, powerful GPU compute solutions on demand. Again, not specifically just AI, again, AI deep in kind of arena. Why? Well, because, again, we're all talking about GPUs power from NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the key name that all of these have in common. 43,000 plus enterprise-grade GPUs on demand. To build large language models like ChatGPT, etc., it takes huge amounts of compute power. This compute power can only be provided by appropriate GPUs such as H100 GPUs that are all from NVIDIA. And if you wondered whether or not this is true or this is such a big deal, guess why right now there's a lot of pressure and discomfort in the world right now on the global stage because of a country called Taiwan off the coast of China, which China believes belongs to them, and the US basically disagreeing with them, saying it's a sovereign nation. But ultimately, it's because that Taiwan is the biggest producer globally of these GPUs. And if China goes and rolls into Taiwan, then the US will basically have to buy its chips from guess who? China. Doesn't really want to do that. But I'm not going to sit here and give you political lessons on what's going on in the bigger world, but ultimately it's not my area of expertise. But what I do know is if two of the world's global superpowers are in high pressure talks right now about whether or not wars and things are going to happen because of GPU chips, which are basically driving the development of AI, then I basically can see the value in companies that are working with these kind of AI chips and all that stuff. Makes sense, hopefully? Well, okay. 43,000 enterprise-grade GPU chips on demand, over $400 million worth of compute capacity. That means that they can earn the right to have these massive market caps because they're actually doing something. It's not like three blokes sat in a room somewhere with some like meme coin that's worth billions and billions of dollars, which actually isn't justified. And yes, there are lots of crypto utility coins that also probably don't have the ability to hold their net worth. They don't probably back up their actual worth. Now, the Aether basically solves a similar problem to what I've talked about with AiOZ. Basically, that bottleneck in terms of power supply to be able to build these language models. Ultimately, what Aether does is it provides a network of different decentralized compute stations that can feed GPU power into you when you need it to build your project. So if you're building a large language model or something like that, you can buy decentralized data from Aether. And this is much more preferable from doing this from a Web 2 environment. Why? Because if you are in the US and it's peak time, you're using local data centers, it's very expensive. Also, you can't guarantee uptime because maybe there's other people trying to use it all the time. There's not enough supply. And because there's less supply, it's extremely expensive. Basically, by being fed data from decentralized locations, they can guarantee 100% uptime because if this data center goes down, you can get data from somewhere else. And it all makes perfect sense. They are also, right now, the biggest provider of decentralized GPU power globally. And that makes a lot of sense as to why this is going to see potentially a significant upside. Also, they're working to decentralize gaming where you don't need to have like the fanciest PlayStation or Xbox. You can go through the cloud and you can access different video games with your device. Same with mobile phones. They're creating a company called iPhone where you can just buy like $100 phone and be able to log into an iPhone and be able to use like an iPhone, but from a simple, cheap device. Lots of cool stuff going on. Big fan. Where does this go? Well, currently ranked with $266 million market cap, of which circulating supply, that is 9%, which is not really that amazing. But most of these are going to be paid off in rewards for nodes, people providing nodes. Obviously, there was a big node sale. Many users now earning tokens all the time, which is distributed amongst the community, the retail investors, ultimately, rather than the kind of big money. But And also, a significant amount of this unlock doesn't happen until after the bull market is potentially going to be over, because the team's been locked for 36 months. Most of the VC money originally that was invested has been locked for 24 months, and most of those unlocks don't happen. And Aether's kind of circulating supplies are only going to do a 2x in the next 12 months, which by that time, I think we are going to be seeing tops of bull markets anyway. Now, Aether launched quite recently, and unlike other coins that have launched recently, has actually held up pretty strongly given the kind of climatic conditions in crypto, if you will. Now, you can see that we were in this kind of symmetrical triangle. We broke out nicely. We're now retesting that previous low. Now, from my point of view, I do hold Aether, and I have been buying in the dips every time we get down into this green box. The highs of that green box are around 6.3 cents, lows around 5.9. I'm pretty happy to be buying in there, and every time you see we bounce out, it goes well. Now, from a pure like chart pattern perspective, this breakout, this retest usually tends to result in some form of a bounce. Obviously, it depends on what's going on in crypto, Bitcoin in general, whether or not we get that. I think there's a reasonable case to be looking towards a 15 to maybe 20x if it all goes to plan down the line. Now, last but not least, AiOZ. Partnered with Aether recently, partnered with Render, pretty monstrous project. Pretty similar to what Aether does, but looking at the charts in a moment, you'll understand why this probably is one of my more bullish projects of the three that we've talked about right now. The Internet of GPUs finally here. Basically a similar concept to how Aether works. Okay, you've got decentralized GPU power all around the world. And if you want to learn more about how all of this kind of works, come across to AIO.net, because the website is very futuristic and also shows a lot of information about how this all works. Decentralized clusters of GPUs. Okay, so a GPU station in Australia, one in America, one in India, various different places can all basically feed you the data that you require. When you require it, you use the tokens to basically pay for the data. That keeps the effect of the supply and demand model driven so that the IO.net or IOU token performs more strongly. Now you can see basically they provide better, faster, cheaper GPUs on demand, and they give more examples perhaps than you saw on the Aether website of kind of the savings that can be made. So just on one use of one GPU here, you can see it saves $260 per month. And if you're using thousands of GPUs, it's obviously significantly cheaper, 100 times more GPUs than most competitors. And this is probably one of the areas of crypto that we actually see in the future mass demand for. Demand that's actually there right now. These projects are actually being used, are actually making profits, which is crazy, which in crypto is almost unheard of, right? And not only is this kind of like beneficial from a cost perspective, but it's also beneficial from the fact that you're not limited geographically on whether you can produce these different platforms, okay? Because AI at the moment is highly centralized. The big AI companies basically monopolize the market because it's incredibly expensive to develop projects and no one else can do it. But now with new platforms like this coming in, it's going to completely open up the playing field and make it much easier for others to come in. You can see also IO.net is partnered with Solana. It runs on Solana as well, whereas Aether currently running on Ethereum. And again, basically it's poised to see significant growth from the kind of growth of this AI market. And basically as this kind of surge in AI growth takes place, which is happening right now, you will start to see more and more people moving towards decentralized options such as IO.net, Aether, and there are a bunch of others, but these are probably my favorites, in that they have access to specific chips that are required for kind of the growth of these large language models and more technical developments within AI. Now, IO.net launched around the same time as Aether, currently sat with a $220 million market cap. Circulating supply is 11%, which again is not the best. Fully diluted market cap, therefore, $1.8 billion, which is pretty big. And if we look into IOU, okay, or IO.net, then you'll see that when it first launched, for the first couple of days, it had a really kind of successful, healthy launch. But obviously, this was around the 16th, 17th of June, when we saw Bitcoin having a massive kind of surge dump towards the downside. This was probably one of the biggest dumps that we've ever seen in the entire crypto market. And obviously, it dragged IO.net with it. And typically, new projects will tend to bleed towards the downside like this if they're launching during bearish conditions in the market. Okay, so again, similar to other projects I've looked at, new projects that have looked like this, lots of people who don't really know what they're talking about will be in the comments being like, it's a scam coin. They don't really understand how these things work. Ultimately, retail are panicking right now. The retailers aren't there to kind of like get into the markets and drive new coins higher, but they will come back. They'll get that exciting story about NVIDIA and AI once more, and everyone floods back into crypto and it pumps again. Every single time, the exact same. Now, you can see that IO.net is seemingly slowing down on this pretty much aggressive sell-off. And then you can see that we are starting to see big buy days stepping in somewhere around here. So around 2.1 or just under $2.1. It seems pretty good value. I think another reasonable call to see another 10 to 20x. I think AI is going to see a huge surge during this bull market, and we are going to have a bull market, a crazy full-blown bull market, one that you've never seen before. The risk versus reward right now at this current stage, if you enter the market today, is so unbelievably stacked in your favor. It couldn't be better, okay? Obviously, go and do your own research and make sure you understand what I'm talking about. Don't buy anything without understanding projects yourself, because it's on you. I'm not going to hold your hand too much. Now, if you want to go and buy any of the cryptos I've talked about today, or just basically hold any of the other cryptos that you're looking at in the market and buying or selling, then I recommend that you go and use the Bitunix, which is linked down below in the description. Not only because you'll get a fat bonus for doing so, but more importantly, it doesn't use KYC. So wherever you are in the world, you can do this without using KYC. You're not required to use a VPN. Also, when I talk about new cryptocurrencies, they will be listed over on Bitunix. So if you want an easy, cheap to use, reliable exchange, then I recommend 100% you can check out Bitunix. Now, you don't require a VPN to access Bitunix, but if you want to access various other exchanges out there, then I highly recommend you use a NordVPN. Now, not only can you access different exchanges with the NordVPN, but you also can stay secure while trading and browsing online. Now, for example, if you're not connected to a VPN and you're in a cafe or something like that, someone can simply connect using spyware to your laptop or phone and see what you're doing on your phone or laptop. They can see your login details for crypto exchanges. They can see your seed phrases and everything else. Therefore, in my opinion, a VPN is 100% an essential piece of kit for a crypto investor. And if you use the link down below for this NordVPN, then it'll cost you like €2.90, which is like $3 per month, to be able to stay safe while browsing online, conducting crypto research, trading, etc. Not only that, but you'll get an additional 4 months for absolutely free by using this exclusive link down below, partnered with the House of Crypto. If you made it through till now, then thank you for supporting the channel. Also, while you're at it, do me a favor. It takes just 1 second. Go down below, hit that like button, okay? You might not think it matters. It really, really matters to me. It means I know that I'm doing the right thing and giving you the content you want, but also it helps my channel to grow. This is my business. This is something I'm trying to grow all the time, every single day, so that I can deliver more based, true content to people out there in the markets. Also, if you haven't already and you enjoyed the content, slightly different from what you probably see on a day-to-day basis, something a bit more in-depth, something that's going to show you the macro and link it together with altcoins and what we see in the future, and make sure you're subscribed. And I will see you very soon in another video.